I didn't want them to go. Salvadoran family grieves for father and daughter who drowned. San Martin, El Salvador. Rosa Ramírez pleaded with her son, urging him not to leave El Salvador and head north with his wife and young daughter. The risks were he saw no other choice. Their neighborhood was. Last Sunday, after weeks on the road, Ms. Ramírez's son, Scar Alberto Martinez Ramírez, 25, and his 23-month-old daughter, Angie Valeria, drowned while trying to cross from Mexico into Texas. Their fate, captured in a father and daughter lying face down in the muddy waters of the Rio Grande, her arm limply wrapped around him, has quickly become over the stream of migrants pushing toward the American border and President Trump's determination to stop it. Critics of the president have taken up the case of the Martinez family, with Senator Chuck Schumer of New York calling the president's policies, leading to pictures like this. Mr. Trump and his supporters, in turn, have accused Democrats of an inaction that has worsened the crisis, with Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky criticizing them as being uncooperative and uninterested in anything except. But for many residents here in Mr. Martinez's hometown, San Martin, the heated political battle in Washington has barely registered, and Mr. Trump's repeated efforts to block migrants have had little impact on the decision to make the perilous journey. He can say what he wants that he's going to put up a wall of I don't know how many meters, said Joselem, 48, a partner in a local car washing business. But they keep going. The death of Mr. Martinez and his daughter has given an urgent and poignant face to a major driver of migration from Central America and elsewhere, economic duress. Much attention in recent years has been given to that has compelled so many Salvadorans and residents of neighboring Guatemala and Honduras to head north. But perhaps a bigger impetus, officials and residents here say, has been economics, especially poverty and the lack of good jobs. The Martinez family made it as far as the northern Mexican border city of Matamoros last weekend, where, according to relatives, they hope to cross into the United States and apply for asylum. Told the bridge was closed, however, they decided to ford the Rio Grande on Sunday afternoon instead. Mr. Martinez went ahead with the couple's daughter, carrying her on his back, tucked under his t-shirt. His wife, as Mr. Martinez, carrying their daughter, approached the opposite bank, he was visibly tiring in the rough water, Ms. Valos told the authorities. Unnerved, I didn't want them to go, Ms. Ramírez, Mr. Martinez's mother, said this week in an interview at the small, two-bedroom row house that she shared with her son and his family. But they didn't take It remains unclear how the Martinez family intended to argue their case for asylum, or whether they even understood the legal basis for gaining such protection. Mr. Martinez, but Ms. Ramírez repeatedly said that her son and his family were not fleeing persecution or the threat of it. Requirements for gaining asylum in the United States. They migrated only because of the economic situation, she said. Lamentably, Mr. Trump has railed against what he calls rampant asylum fraud, and he has imposed restrictions on the system in an effort to curb abuse. Measures that human rights and migrants advocates say have imperiled the lives of asylum seekers who have legitimate claims. Residents and officials here say a gang dominates the neighborhood, Alta Vista. But Ms. Ramírez, instead, like so many others here and throughout the working class of El Salvador, the family was struggling to get by, living on the edge of poverty. There isn't opportunity, there's no work, said Victor Manuel Rivera, the mayor of San Martin. He estimated that every day I hear it I am leaving for the United States, he said. People here talk about la situación, the situation shorthand for the economic struggle many face. The counterpoint, it hasn't occurred to me to leave for there, said Salvador Humberto Andrade Torres, 59, a neighbor of the Martinez family, referring to the United States. But it occurs to officials described the neighborhood and the entire municipality of San Martin as a de facto bedroom community, with many residents commuting on average about 2 hours each way to work in the capital, San Salvador. Mr. Martinet and Ms. Valos, however, worked relatively close to their home. Family members said she in a Chinese fast food restaurant at a middle-class mall, and he at various branches of the pizza chain Papa John's. But the couple, even though they were sharing household expenses with Ms. Ramirez and her partner, were having a hard time on their salaries of about $300 a month. Last fall, most of those who migrate are young, as has been the case for generations. But in recent years, Ms. Ramirez said she spoke with her son from time to time as the family made its northward trek, but he did not reveal many details. "I would ask him and he said, 'We're fine,' she recalled. The farewell had been subdued. The family gathered several days later, as she headed to her night shift at the garment factory where she works. Ms. Ramirez said one last goodbye to her son and his family. When she returned in the morning, they were gone. Ms. Ramirez remembered her son as a loyal, doting father and a responsible, friendly, respectful son. Her granddaughter, Angie Valeria, Ms. Ramirez recalled, was happy, intelligent. As she spoke, after the bodies were discovered on Monday, Ms. Ramirez found herself scrolling through the photos of her son and granddaughter on her phone. Her daughter, "I would feel bad when I looked at them," Ms. Ramirez said. It is an agony that she hopes others will never have to suffer. "Don't risk the lives of your children," she said, hoping to warn others against setting off on the potentially dangerous journey to the American border. "Those who are thinking of, I'd prefer to live here, in poverty, than risk my life," she added. But we don't all.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.